Jessica, I believe you wanted to talk for our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Minute this month. And so I don't know if you would like to share your screen or if this slide suffices for what you'd like to talk about.
This slide is great. I'm sorry I didn't prepare any slides, but I did prepare some remarks, and so I just want to be able to share a little bit of food for thought, I think, so to speak, from the DEI Committee. So good morning, fellow club members. I come to you this morning from the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. So the work of our committee is often kind of considered maybe outward facing to expand the diversity in the types of projects and the people that we serve and the people that we include in our group. But this morning, my challenge is also to consider that there's also some inside work that happens that we need to encourage all of us to do and participate in, because we're part of making our organization more inclusive, equitable, and welcoming. So today's DEI Minute is an encouragement to do a little bit of that inward-facing work. And in particular, I want to encourage people to talk about or to consider the importance of having some of those hard conversations. I'm sure that people know what I mean by hard conversations. It's the ones that sort of put a ball in the pit of your stomach, that are uncomfortable when we think about having them. Maybe it's something we want to avoid having altogether because it raises uncomfortable emotions and it's a difficult thing maybe to talk about. So sure, there's the tried and true kind of difficult conversations, things about relationships, money, politics. It's also conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. They might be areas that we have to confront personal beliefs and biases. And when we have to confront those, there's a bunch of difficult emotions that come up as a result of it. And so it can be one of those things that we shy away from, and yet also the value of leaning into and doing it is really powerful and really helpful. So within our committee, we've actually been practicing some of those hard conversations, saying we're actually going to talk about it, not leave that alone to fester and create unpleasantness. And we really want to encourage club members to do that, be it with fellow club members within our committees, be it with work colleagues, be it with family members. It really helps to talk about whatever that hard thing is, get it out into the open so that you can be able to move on. But also do it in a constructive manner with sensitivity and attention. And I'm gonna give 5 pointers or 5 ideas that might help there. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the conversation, or one of the conversations in particular that we've had within our committee. But first, there's an article that I'm going to share with everybody later on today that comes from a woman named Catherine Hoffman, and it was published by Flatland KC. And it offers 5 tips for navigating some of those difficult conversations. The first is prepare. Know who you're going to be talking to. Know who's going to be in the room. Know what the conversations might look like so that you can know, okay, I'm going to be having a conversation about this aspect of politics, or I might be talking about this aspect of a relationship. Second, be calm, be patient. Recognize that the conversations can be triggering, right? And we can really find ourselves heated. You can find your conversation partner heated. But a calm presence, deep breathing, finding that calm goes much farther toward having an actual productive conversation. Third, think about who you're talking with. It might be a family member, it might be a fellow Rotarian, might be a workmate. These are all people that you have to have a long-term relationship with. So you don't want to burn the bridge on the conversation. You want to make sure that you're finding common ground, finding mindful language to be able to make sure that you can maintain that relationship on into the future. You just are working to be able to make that relationship better. The fourth point is hear in order to be heard. This one, I really like this one because I think that we really have to listen to each other, allow the other person to speak, make their points, have their opinion and make their points, and don't be drafting what it is that you're going to say while the other person is talking, because too often that's something that we end up doing. So really listen and hear what the other person says. And then finally, 5, set healthy boundaries. You don't have to have all the hard conversations all in one fell swoop go round, but we do encourage you to have at least one. And then once you've had one, have another and try it again. And you'll find that you develop a literacy and an ability to have those hard conversations. And you'll also find that your life is richer and fuller as a result of doing it. So, those are my pointers. But I also want to talk about exactly how the DEI committee has been practicing those conversations and what we've been talking about. And actually, it's something that happened within the club. And so I want to share a little bit about some of the conversations that we had. Specifically, members will recall last fall when the board of directors passed a resolution that they were going to send to Rotary International. And then, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days later, they met and they rescinded the resolution and they didn't send anything, which was good and interesting. But the aftermath is also like how it happened, what happened, how people felt about it. I brought up some hard stuff. And certainly, judging by the conversations within our committee, that it dominated the meetings for a couple of our committee meetings. And as we listened to sort of what was being said, we realized that this was something that really kind of shook our club. And it created some conflict. It made people question the organization. It made people question their place in the organization. We lost members over it. And all of that feels uncomfortable and feels scary and feels hard, and yet it's also really good because it does allow us to be able to have discussions about who and what we are. It's an opportunity to take that shaken earthquake feeling and not shy away from an open discussion, because we can realize that sometimes what it is that is uncomfortable is me having to address and look at my bias, my beliefs, my assumptions, sometimes my privilege, and that's uncomfortable. And yet also, if I work my way through that, it means that I can be able to be more welcoming and friendly and allow other folks to be able to come in. So within our committee conversations, we did the idea of Rotary is a non-political organization. And we really talked about what that means. We reminded ourselves that, hey, you know, it's a non-political organization. However, we get involved in things that are pretty political in nature, especially around the world. Some of the things that our organization works in is not apolitical. But the cool thing about Rotary is that it's a mechanism that allows us to transcend political discourse. We unite over providing service to our community. We unite over providing service to the world. So as individual club members and as Rotarians, internationally, we come from inherently different experiences, both within our club and across the world in terms of individual people that are in the organization. We need to understand and recognize that our different experiences make us different. And we can celebrate that, but we can also work beyond those inherent differences and come together in the spirit of service. It's a reminder to have conversations with each other to find that common ground, especially when we find conflict arising within our Rotary family. So in our committee, what we realized when we allowed each other to talk and we really listened to what each other had to say, that the cool thing is we're fundamentally more alike than we are different. We're tied together by our interest in helping people and in serving humanity and in coming together to make our world a better place. So it was really inspiring, and it was really cool to be able to have the chance to talk about some of those things within our committee. So just as we did within our committee, we encourage all members to go out there, make the time, have a hard conversation with your family member, with a workmate, with a fellow Rotarian, within your committees. Engage in those hard discussions, find the connection, find the opportunity. because finding connection and common ground, that's a wish that the DEI committee has for all of us going into the new year. And I don't think it's ever been a more important time than to find that common ground and connection as we go forward in the world. So that's what I have to say on behalf of the DEI committee. So thanks,
That's
Ian.
good. Thank you so much. I have nothing to add to that. That is a complete and thorough inward and outward look. Thank you very much.